Okay, good morning or good afternoon. This is Allie Brown. It's Monday morning. I wonder why I chose to do these on Mondays, actually. It's
No,
kind of a crazy morning. Like the kids are, I'm sorry, Jennifer. You're
it's
further
so
ahead than I am. I was like, Brett, can you take the kids to the park? And please just get them out of here. I need some quiet. It's been lovely. But today's guest really puts me at ease because she's just such a beautiful soul. Her name is Jennifer Allwood. So, Jennifer, so great to have you here.
Allie, I'm so glad to be here. Anytime I get a chance to talk to you, I'm like jumping all over it. So thank you.
Well, we were having so much fun in the pre-chat, we weren't watching the clock, so I think we're like 2 minutes late. But this is We Lead Live, and what I do is bring in some of the most amazing women leaders I know. It's a little different than my show, Glambition Radio. We really go deep. They're long conversations. This is going to be, we usually wrap these up in about half an hour. It's a nice time to get to know somebody new, to hear what their advice is during this. Is there a phrase that hasn't been used yet? These uncertain times or turbulent year.
I say the
Or
world is weird.
the world is weird. I have some swear words that I won't say on the show, but I could describe it. A giant dumpster fire. Just it's been a weird year, right? So I thought, let's bring these women on who are still really thriving and done things the way that they really wanted to do them this year. And that looks different for everybody. And I had Jennifer on my show 2 months ago. And I wanted to have you back, Jennifer, because we pre-recorded that, a few weeks forward of when it aired, or maybe even the month or two. It just felt, though, I love these shows because they're live and they're current with everything happening.
Yeah.
And I think the first thing I'd like to just emphasize is that, Jennifer has a solid business background. She had an interior design company and then moved into coaching, which I always think is a good move before you go to coach people in business, maybe run a business that was successful. You actually were so acclaimed. You were on Extreme Home Makeover and, you got a lot of notoriety and then moved into a whole new place with the business. But can we start going back? Can you tell everyone a bit about your background?
Yeah. So I started that decorating, painting business back in the year 2000. And I loved it, Allie. I got to, make houses beautiful all over Kansas City where we live. I had a client fly me to Belize to look at, a house right there on the ocean. I mean, it was really great until it wasn't, which is usually what happens at any time in a business, whether it's a, brick and mortar or a coaching business or whatever. Like you kind of all of a sudden get to a place where you're like, you know what, it is not cutting it for me anymore. And that point happened for me probably about 5 years ago when I realized I had kind of capped my income. And I had also really resigned myself to the fact that I wanted to make more money for like a multitude of reasons. And sometimes I think that's hard for women to say, but I knew that I was capped in that painting and design business. And people were asking me to coach them. I had built a really large social media following. Today, I think I have 360,000 Facebook followers. And so people kept asking me, how are you doing that? So I started coaching them. And today I coach over 2,300 women every month in like a paid group. And a lot of them originally, since I came from that creative design background, a lot of the women originally that were in my coaching group were also kind of in that same genre. But now it's more shifted. We have, dog walkers, real estate people. It's a huge group of women who are all just trying to build a business online. And if ever there was a time to build a business online, it is, by the way, 2020. So
yeah, by choice or necessity.
Yeah,
right.
Exactly. I've been talking for, the last 4 or 5 years about different revenue streams in the online space. And this year I'm like, I tried to tell you, like, I'm not saying that, but I'm like, I've been preaching this for years and here it is. And so I'm honored to be able to coach women the way I do.
Yeah. I got to know you. I was honored that you came to my event last November, which seems like 6 years ago.
It does. In dog
iconic. Yeah. And you're sitting out there and I'm, who's this beautiful woman with this fun hair and this great personality? And that's what I was like, oh, she's interesting. I want to get to know her a little bit. And you mentioned you had a book coming out.
I did.
It is called Fear Is Not the Boss of You. It's been out now, since the few months?
It came out the third week of quarantine, which, just FYI, if you're ever going to launch a book, I would not suggest the third week of quarantine. It's, people's heads are not in the right headspace. Even though it's a great book about fear, which is what the whole world is going through right now. But yeah, it came out April 7th, the middle of the pandemic. So
what was so pivotal about that message for you when you were working on this? And why did fear become the main message that you wanted to focus on?
Well, because I've had a large audience, I've been asked to write a book several times, and got an agent a couple of years ago to try to help me navigate that, because you just don't know what you don't know. And I've never wrote a book, so I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing. I'm a book virgin here. So got a book agent, and several years ago, she said, okay, so are you ready to write a book about like decorating and design? And I'm like, yeah, no, that is like,
It just felt flat.
Yeah, I've moved on from that part of my life. And she's like, okay, so are you ready to write a book about business? Like, you coach all these women every month. And I'm like, that doesn't feel right either. And she's like, okay, so those are the two things you know. So what are you going to write a book about? And her and I had a lot of different conversations about like what I would want to leave. Like, the weird thing about writing a book, Allie, is that it's so permanent. There's no take backs. You know what I mean?
It feels like your swan song. Like if you left the planet, like this is what you're going to be known for.
Yeah. And I told her, I feel like what I am best at is really pulling the gifts out of other women and really helping them figure out why they're stuck and getting them past being stuck into some sort of movement, some sort of forward motion, whether they're in business or they're, at home raising kiddos, which is, by the way, what I used to do. While I ran that painting company, I stayed home full time and raised 3 kids and just had other women out in the field working for me. So I know working full time, I know staying home full time. And what I really know is women. And there's so many women that are stuck and they're in places they don't want to be, relationships they don't want to be in, jobs they don't want to be in. And I think that what I'm best at is helping them reframe the way they look at their life and their choices and get them to make decisions to move forward. That's what I'm good at. So that's what the book is about.
Yeah. How do you feel this is especially relevant this year?
Yeah.
Because there's the book was written more about these personal neuroses we have, right? And the fear that how we hold ourselves back.
100%.
There's a whole other layer now. And to be frank, I'm sure when you wrote this, life was pretty good for a lot of us. We didn't realize it until now.
It was so good, Allie.
In this country, I tell some of the women I coach, in this country, women are lucky to have the neuroses we are allowed to have. Yeah. Like the things that we get scared of and how we feel about, what is she going to think of me? And am I really going to charge what I'm worth? And put that in the context now of 24, it makes me want to just cry, 24/7 media telling us to be scared, to stay inside, to take your place, to put on, your mouth. Just all this stuff. Suddenly we are being put in a place of fear, like it or not. This terrible feeling has been with us for a lot of the year, and the uncertainty of not knowing where things are going. And it's not going to get better, everybody. Listen, I'm just going to tell you, it's an election year, if you haven't noticed. So guaranteed things are going to get worse. Okay, before November. And so just the media is just going to really work this. So make sure you have some boundaries there for yourself to get through this year. Talk to us from your perspective, Jennifer, on how, we can put ourselves in a better place with fear to empower ourselves this year.
Well, I can tell you from personal experience, Allie. So, the coronavirus really hit like in the middle of March is when everything started shutting down and the kids came home from school. And I had a conference the first weekend of April in Kansas City. And we had to shift that very quickly to an online conference. I had a 12-city book tour for Fear is Not the Boss of You with radio and television in every city I went to. So that was all canceled. And basically I looked at that and I'm like, oh my gosh, my last whole entire year of work is just like down the tubes, because of something that I can't control. And the kids came home from school and we were expected to homeschool and that felt very out of control. And then they canceled my older kiddos' prom. And then they canceled, graduation. And we were in the process of adopting a little girl and that got pushed way back. And so everything felt seriously out of control. And I spiraled for a little bit. I'm not going to lie. It would be great for me to sit here and be like, oh, I handled it so great. No, I started doing weird things like cutting my own hair, which, by the way, I was already losing my hair. I've been very public with this on my Instagram account. If you've experienced hair loss, please go watch that. And so then I was like finding myself cutting my hair and I gained 20 pounds in 2 months' time because I was just pacifying myself with, whatever was in front of me and baking pies with the kids. And it took me, I would say, a good 3 months before I was like, okay, I need to read my own book. I need to put on my big girl panties here. I've got to do some things to get myself out of this funk. And so there's been several things that I've been trying to do in the last couple of months just to trick me into thinking that life is normal, even though it's not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
And a psychiatrist may have a heyday with this, but like for a while, I would only go to stores that didn't require masks. Just being on, I couldn't do it. If I walked into a store,
we did the same thing. That's just to have some sense of normalcy as we were taking all this in.
Yes, I'm like, how can I just pretend that stuff is still, like 2019? We had a small group of friends, we did the whole don't be around anybody for 2 months. And then eventually I was like, okay, I'm out of control here. Like I can't do this anymore. And so there's a small group of friends that we do church with every weekend, and churches are closed and we do life with these people. So we started gathering again on the weekends, and we even went out of town on a vacation that my husband and I took everybody to a secluded home on a beach where we were social distanced and, responsible. But I've had to do those sorts of things. And then on a daily basis, like really, I'm a woman of faith. So getting into my Bible, walking my dogs. It's amazing how like cuddling with your dogs. And by the way, Allie, I don't like anybody's dogs but my own. I am the most unlikely dog lover, but it's amazing how just stuff like that can like take your blood pressure down, kind of get those cortisol levels down, and make me just for a minute feel like, you know what, we're going to make it. And I'm having to fight for that, on a daily basis, because it keeps getting weirder and wilder every single day. So
yeah. Now, do you put any news on at all during the day?
I don't put on the news at all. But here's the thing that I do that is not good. I just said do, by the way. Sorry. I said do on Allie's thing. I get on social media. And for a lot of people, that's where we're getting our news. So I may keep my television off, but I'm making the mistake of getting on my phone and just randomly scrolling. And that's a place that used to be a real place of joy for me, because that's what I do. I teach people how to build their social media, but now you can't look at Instagram or Facebook without it being very political, very people on one side or the other. It seems like the world's going to heck in a handbasket. I opened up Facebook today. How is it possible that parts of our country have 2 hurricanes heading towards it all at once? I'm like, Lord,
okay, so correct me if I'm wrong, because you know the Bible so well. Is this the end of days?
Well,
locusts, there's like hornets.
We're definitely in the endish parts of the days, I think. And so, it just, I have got to pretty much stay off of even social media, right? And I'm not doing a good job of it, because I find myself, I'm reading things, Allie, and I'm like, how are they that foolish to believe that? And what do you mean they're posting that? And then I just find myself getting angry. And when I start feeling that way, I know I'm not showing up as my best self for my family, my friends. So I keep the TV off, but I gotta keep the social media off even more. And what I'm finding is I'm starting to get a little sassier on social media. And so I'm like,
I like it, by the way, but don't let it suck you. See, this is the problem, because we go in just to do our work, those of us. And so what I'm doing lately too is I'll post something and let my team manage. So I don't look at the feed. And if I'm in a good mood and I want to catch up and I have the brain bandwidth to handle some things that I may see and not agree with, then I go in and look. But I think it's using social media now for business. You have to really draw a line, and how are you going to protect yourself and your energy, especially if you're a sensitive person. And you may not realize that about me. I'm actually quite an introvert. I turn this on when I'm in events and on stage, and I love connecting in the energy, but I can get so affected that it'll shut me down. And then I realized, Jennifer, because I was getting sucked in too, and needed some time. And I'll tell you, the summer was great though, dialing it down, spending more time with the kids.
Me too.
And now though, I realize my best way to be of service this year is not participating in the news, not participating in getting sucked into what I see, but getting back to why I'm here.
Amen.
And it's the same for you, and the same for many of you women watching. So you want to be aware of what's going on. You want to be educated, but stay above it. Do not get sucked in for the sake of your business and the sake of your family. And that is how we are going to be the light and have the good energy that's going to drive us forward.
Well, let me tell you something. There's days when somebody needs to tie my hands behind my back, because, it's hard sometimes to bite your lip. And I'm finding that a lot of the women that I'm leading who, they're coming to me and saying, what do I do about all the things that are coming at life and going on in the world, everything from the political things to, the racial divide that we have in this country, and to topics that are very, they're just highly energetically charged. Do I post about them? Do I not? And my advice to them is always like, there are some of you that God's going to ask to speak into certain areas. And when you feel like that's your arena and you're supposed to, absolutely, you use your mouth and do it for good. It will polarize some people and you're going to turn some people off, but it will magnetize a whole nother group of people to you. Now, for the majority of you, you're supposed to, for your business sake, stay away from it. But some of you are supposed to take a stand. And I hope that they do. So for me, I'm constantly like, asking God, okay, do you want me to actually speak on this, or am I just supposed to keep my mouth shut? Like there's been several posts I've done recently that I feel like I'm supposed to speak about sex trafficking, which is a very, horrible topic to talk about, but that's something that my husband and I have talked about for years. That's an organization that my husband and I have donated to causes for organizations that rescue women and children out of sex trafficking. So that's something that I'm like willing to go to bat on. Do you know what I mean? I'm like,
right.
Yeah. So,
yeah.
But it's difficult to judge or to juggle. Like, what do I speak on? What do I not? Where do I keep my mouth shut? Where do I respond to comments? And where do I be like, yeah, I'm not going to get into an argument with a fool. And so, these are interesting times.
Yeah. And I want all the women watching, especially, to take in, we have until you step back and think about it, the weight of what we have been asked to carry this year, from our children being home with us full time to now, like I shared recently, we decided because of the way the schools have handled it recently, and I didn't want my kids, either in there all day muzzled or home all day online. I'm like, well, neither of those work for me. We pulled them out and we're doing it ourselves, which is another layer of responsibility. We're just being piled on all this stuff. Jennifer, how do we rise above that and stay true to our mission? What are some strategies that you can offer everyone?
Yeah. So perspective is everything. I think one of the things that is really hard for us right now is we all feel a lack of control. And as a woman, boy, I like to have some control. I like to know, what to expect. And right now I just feel like everything is so up in the air. Originally when everything started, we were going to be on lockdown, at least in Kansas City, for a couple of weeks,
Yeah. Do you remember that? Everyone did their part,
We're just going to flatten the curve. And now I've got kids that I'm wondering, we moved our oldest to college last week. We adopted our little girl on a Friday and moved my oldest to college on a Saturday morning. So, emotions were like this. So my advice, I think, would be this, it won't last forever. I believe that with everything in me. I believe that after the election, we'll see some shift, but I really think it's going to be after the first of the year that we really see some things change and lighten up. I don't think we're even going to know who our president is in November. So there's that. I think either side's going to cry foul. And so I think we just need to really resign ourselves to the fact that it's going to be wild from here to the end of the year. I think back in March, we didn't realize we would still be here in August. You know what I mean? So I think right now, if I just think to myself, okay, Jen, make it to January. You've got this until January. Trying to keep things in perspective. What things can I control? My health, my physical health, my mental health, my marriage, taking care of my kids. I'm really trying to focus on my children's mental well-being. When we've got 4 of them, 3 teenagers, and then our little girl. And so really trying to focus on how I can help them navigate this wild, wild time, but then also make sure I keep my business, because if the business goes to crap, along with everything else, then we're in trouble. So, and I know for me, like just some practical things, since I'm coaching women who are in business, my team got together a month or so ago, and I just told them, I feel like what women in business, and I know you have so many business owners, that follow you, Allie. There's a lot of women who just, I don't know what to post on social. I don't know what I should do. And so I haven't even been able to post at all. And now my analytics have gone to crap and my reach is horrible. So like for the women I coach, we've made them like a playbook, which is like almost like a cheat sheet for them every month on, here's some things that you can post about. This is National Donut Day. Here's some,
and who's going to disagree? Someone with National Donut Day. That's safe territory.
Topics, because I think that a lot of women in business right now are like, I've got the kids and the family's all at home and I've got the business, and they just don't have the mental capacity to really focus on their business at the moment. So I'm trying to give them some tools to help them just to give them a little bit of relief in the one area of what do I do on social media. So, we're focusing on just what can we practically give women right now. I know, like in my coaching group too, we discounted the price for a lot of people because the world is at a weird time, and people, I think that they're definitely still spending. By the way, I don't at all believe what I hear on the news about people are not spending, because they are. I am stress shopping like a madwoman at 2 a.m. I mean, I don't know about you, but I am single-handedly keeping some boutiques, above water right now. I'm doing my part with the economy. But keeping off the news, focusing on the things that you can control. For me, since my faith is such an important part of it, prayer is huge. It centers me and grounds me, and really just focusing on my family and what I have to do in my business, and everything else is fluff. Everything else can follow.
Yeah, I like this. So there's a line between where we know we can surrender, right? There's a lot that's out of our control right now, but you just gave a new perspective and like what is within our control, right? What happens within our home, how we are speaking around our children, how our children are educated. I was a little scared of the homeschool thing, but I tell you now, we're actually very excited, like what we have the capacity to do now. Yeah. And, Jennifer, can you also comment on, as you have, I'm getting an echo. Are you hearing that, or is that just on my end?
No, I'm not hearing it.
Okay, I'm hearing an echo. Hope you guys aren't hearing that, but it could change any minute. Just like the world. We don't know what's going on. It's the 5G. It's frying us. So when you look at who you have surrounded yourself with over your career and even in your personal life, I know you've made some changes over the years, depending on where you at and what your goals are and how your values are. Tell us about the evolution of who you choose to be around and how that is important in your business.
Yeah. So in terms of friendships, I've had some of the same friendships for decades. My 2 best friends, one of them I've known since I was in kindergarten. The other, we have 20 plus years, and those are solid and consistent. And regardless of, what happens in my business, those are friendships that I want to keep all those intact. Our business exploded really quickly, Allie, and this from me being at your premiere event last year. We went from like $300,000 a year to $2 million in 1 year. And that is at a lot of growth. And so originally it was, who do I hire to help with this? And who do I hire to help with that? And get into a mastermind and all that's great. But I'm trying to surround myself in terms of business with people who are not in my industry. I've always done that. Even when I had my painting career, I never did things within my industry. I always went outside of it. I especially went to the health and wellness space and watched how they were doing things, and then would take it back and innovate it in my own industry, which, by the way, made people not like me because they'd never seen stuff like that done before, if that makes sense. Yeah. And so I'm really trying to surround myself in business with people who are moving forward, who feel very driven by mission and not necessarily just by money, who feel they are called to something, they have a responsibility to something. They're trying to build something that's more than just cash for today for a vacation home, which I do want, but more legacy type of stuff, which I know is the cry of your heart. So I know, for instance, when I was at your event in October, you and I had never met before, and it was fabulous. It was women I'd never been exposed to. It was women from other parts of the world. Remember when we used to be able to travel, Allie? But it was so great to be around other women who were mission driven, who were smart, who were they were givers of their knowledge and sharers of the things, and that. I was telling a girlfriend of mine this week, I was telling her, how your husband loves to go to rock concerts? That's how I feel about going to business events. It's the way I just so other people are like, let's go see Beyonce. And I'm like, no, let's go see Alex. Let's go to a business conference, or let's go to a mastermind. That excites me. And I think that right now I'm really searching for, because so many things have gone virtual, and I think as the world has gone virtual in the last 6 months, I've realized, wow, even though I'm an introvert, I really need the face-to-face stuff. Yeah. So right now I'm holding on until we've got some face-to-face things happening, that I can get back in a room with other super smart women and just get re-energized about the possibilities right now. Yeah.
And I'm going to give a quick plug that I have an event coming up, actually. It's for my trust network. It's jointhetrust.org. If you're interested, what this is my network I launched actually at Iconic when Jennifer was there. It is for the fantastic have to find the way back to the screen. Hold on. There we go. I'm a one-woman show today. This is a new network. If you're looking for something with elevated conversation, more extraordinary women, and women at a certain level, because the conversation for business and personal, I'm going to venture to say, does really shift. And in fact, at the event we have coming up September 16th and 17th, both live and virtual, because some of them are dying to get together, and we're the great size that we won't be, too big yet.
Yes.
We're going to be talking about a lot of the pressures that we've been taking on over this year and what this means for us as leaders, and where do we take specific risks with our missions, with our messages to align with where we really want to go. Some of the women want to talk about great places to invest right now. Whenever things go up, some things go down, right? We need to start thinking this way. This is how a lot of the guys think, and we don't think this way strategically. Where should we be putting our money? Where are things going to change next year? And of course, all the, business leadership topics like that. If you are at the 7-8 figure range, come join us. Come just talk with my team at jointhetrust.org. My team would be happy to have a quick chat with you. And I also want to throw this in here. I don't even know if I've ever mentioned it. We naturally have attracted such a beautifully diverse group. Yeah. I mean, from color to industry to, just everything. We have women from all over the globe joining us. And it's, there's some great organizations out there. Most people are part of more than one, but ours has become a very, very special place. So if you're watching this now or know another woman leader who is looking for something different, come have a look at jointhetrust.org.
Those relationships, they can, they can almost make or break some things, can't they? I mean, and I love that you talk about elevated conversations, which I don't know, Allie, if 2 years ago I would have known what that meant, by the way. I had just recently, hit 7 figures, but I didn't know what an elevated conversation was until I was in a room such as yours with elevated conversations. And I'm like, oh my goodness, this is the kind of stuff that I'm thinking about, but I didn't know there was other women thinking about the same things and wanting to have conversations about things bigger than just how do we get more Facebook followers? You know what I mean? And so I love that you are in that space of just one notch higher. Thank you for that.
Thank you. Thank you for seeing that. Thank you for seeing that. And everyone watching, make sure that you're going to, give yourself some grace this year. Yes. You've been handling a lot, but I'll tell you, I feel the momentum shifting for everyone the last few weeks. I feel, and I don't know, it's just something going on in the energy and the air of the planets, but I feel like we're being supported now more than ever. Yeah. If you're on a mission right now and you're building your business and you're moving into leadership, take the advice that Jen shared today. Be sure to pick up her book. It is fantastic. It's called, I always get, this is opposite. Fear is not the boss of you. This is fantastic. And they could pick it up Amazon. Where else? Where should they follow you? Tell us everything.
Yeah. So anywhere on social media, you can find me at Jennifer Allwood. I have my own podcast, since I know people love you for your podcast. It's the Jennifer Allwood Show. It's not a very creative name, but Instagram is where I return all my DMs. I can't with Facebook. It's just, I get too many weird ones from men in other countries and stuff. Facebook's so weird anymore. Like, fix it, Mark. And so that's always my hashtag, fix it, Mark. So yeah, on Instagram, listen to the podcast, but the book is on Amazon. It's in Barnes and Noble. It's in a lot of major bookstores. So thank you for that.
Yeah, great. Thanks for joining us. And thank you. We'll be back on Thursday morning with another fantastic guest. I'll see you all here live. Thanks, Jennifer. Bye.
Thanks, Allie. Take care.